Hello guys, welcome back to another thrilling game of Netrunner from your friends at Team Covenant. I'm Steven.
I'm Robert.
Hi Robert.
Hey.
And we've got Sasha Friedman on the left playing Tim Bunn on the right. You've probably seen both of these guys if you've been following our videos. Sasha, of course, facing off against me in the Independence, Missouri regional finals. Good player, obviously. And Tim, well, we know Tim. Everybody knows Tim over there. And apparently a good player as well. I don't know. Seems to find himself in the top 8 quite often, so I will believe it.
Top 5 even.
But no, Tim is a great player. He's a good mind for Netrunner. I'll often bounce ideas off of him. Tim is the straight man for me. He reins in a lot of bad ideas and just prevents them from coming out. So it's always good to have that guy who's just like, nah, you know what's good. And
you should not
it's
do
not
that.
This.
Don't do it.
So Tim, in a kind of a great segue there, is playing Engineering the Future here. We've seen this move out of Tim twice now.
2 times?
First at Worlds, where he was a huge Jinteki fan and still is and player, but then takes Engineering the Future to a big event because, and you can't blame him.
He's different.
It's so good. It's so good. Tim plays it well. He knows exactly what to do, and it's we talked about this a few times in some of these big events. It's actually a low impact deck as far as frazzling you, and that's very important throughout a tournament. It plays pretty straightforward. It plays pretty obviously. Not a huge amount of like stressful decisions to make like there can be in other Corp decks where you're trying to launch traps or do that kind of thing. So It is actually a pretty good choice for the Corp. And then of course he brings it home on the runner side with some more interesting options. We got Sasha over there playing Andy, little 9-card Andy. And let's take a look at this first turn from Tim. He installed R&D HQ and a remote. Pretty classic opening there, gained a credit for the identity there. Andromeda's launched a Sure Gamble, and it looks like just drew a lot of cards. I'm guessing that was something great, like quality time. I wasn't paying attention, I was just talking.
Super quality time, more like it. So you were talking about playing low stress decks. Is that something that comes in handy on longer tournaments?
I just said quality time. It's just Andy drawing your opening hand. That's crazy what I just said.
Yeah, I was wondering why you were
now, what are you saying? What's the question
Low
here?
stress decks on either side of the game, is that something that benefits the player in a long tournament like a regional match?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt it does. Without a doubt it does. You see a lot of finals, a lot of lead-ups to the finals where players are playing very intensive decks, very heavy choices, kind of high variance, high risk-reward kind of decks, and they're awesome, a lot of fun. But yeah, they do wear you out for sure, and you do have to think about endurance. Honestly, in a big tournament like that, that's part of the prestige of winning is that you had the mental endurance to go the whole way.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna see if either Tim or Sasha can be that person today. And Sasha has a fairy on the board. Tim installed a bit more ice and gained some credits, and we're off to the races here. Quite interested to see how this one turns out. This is kind of a classic matchup for Netrunner. Andy, what I believe is like Andy Data Sucker build from Sasha, and then the old Engineering the Future San business from Tim. So this is kind of, I would say, and not to discredit either of these decks, certainly, I would say if you're looking for the kind of default meta for Netrunner at this time, this was it and has been it for quite a little while. Kind of this HB Fast Advance and this Andromeda with the Anarch splashes in it.
It honestly doesn't look that different from what I remember seeing even as late as last year's Gen Con in 2013.
Yeah, there's small changes. I'll tell you, that's one of the things I think that I like about Netrunner a lot is that you have a core set, especially as a new player. If you get a core set or two, you have 80% of the card pool that you need to build a competitive deck right now. So that's really encouraging, and I think it's really nice to not have a core set full of cards that you then never use again.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of great cards here. But you see cards like Fairy and Mr. Lee both on Sasha's side of the board that aren't core set, Andromeda not core set, but still a lot of the core cards are there in those criminal decks.
Sure.
Inside Jobs, those kinds of things. And then over on Tim's side, again, Eli is up. It's not a core set, but you see the Adonis, Engineering the Future, these kinds of like very classic cards. So it's an LCG, just a game of smaller changes. And so, Sasha putting in maybe a different 4 influence than some other criminal decks might, it can be all the difference in making a tournament-winning deck.
Totally.
So there's a lot of finesse in these deck-building schemes.
Dex-based.
And we're getting right back into it. Tim, Eli over R&D, really keeping things out. Sasha, as an efficiency player, that's what I would call him, has the mind for just doing the most efficient action possible. Not liking Eli, and a lot of us players like that don't enjoy Eli because it's just never a good exchange. 2 clicks is heavy, and 4 credits is heavy, so you just kind of sit there and deal with it.
I don't want to.
I don't want to do anything. But hey, you can always score an agenda. That's the thing right now. 2 clicks for an agenda, actually 3 technically, would be not a bad deal. Heimdall 1.0 comes up on that remote. Oh, baby. Adonis
what a nice piece of ice.
Oh, it's a great piece of ice. And now Sasha's got to spend a lot of clicks to just avoid really nasty things.
At least a Dane Bramage.
And then potentially trash that Adonis. I don't know. Really invested now in this run.
Yeah, right? Whew. That's a lot of credits he could potentially get rid of. Is it worth it?
Such a tough call here. Tim now at 1 credit. If he loses that Adonis, it's going to be a harder road to get back up. But Engineering the Future is also really easy.
Oh, he's taking the Dane Bramage.
He's taking brain damage, which doesn't matter too much against HB unless it really matters.
Unless that's what they're doing. I mean, how often does HB run like a Scorched Earth or something like that?
Man, you know, it's very rare. It's very rare. Sometimes they stack a ton of brain damage too. They have the tools to do that now. Sasha go ahead and click through both in the runs and trashing the Adonis. He's going to click Katie, try to recover there. Tim installs here. Could be a scoring window. He could pop one over the top.
Yep.
Going to be hard to say here. Or it could, again, be a kind of invitation to Sasha to take another brain damage and come right through. Waste a turn.
You don't want to waste turns in this game. At least that's what I understand.
That is, yeah. Generally in any game, it's pretty much a bad idea. Now, here's kind of a gut check moment for Sasha and Tim both. Did he put the agenda down there or not? You know, and it goes back to this classic game theory. If Sasha knows he can get in there, this is the beauty of Bioroid Ice. He knows that he's got a window to that remote. So knowing that, does he not check it because it's just probably an Adonis or an Eve? Or does Tim then use that idea to score an agenda out here because Sasha's just not going to... Yeah, he's like, well, he wouldn't put an agenda down there if I can get in. I'm going to move on. And I'm really curious to see the answer. And it looks like he's not going to go for that remote. So Tim does have a chance here if he throws it out.
Slick. All right. Oh, what do we res here? That looks like, what is that? An Enigma.
That's even better. 4th click Katie. And
boom.
Obviously Tim did not put an agenda in there after the Enigma res. That became fairly obvious. Couldn't score it out.
Jacko.
I see a beta test in hand. Looks like we're caning Jack. And then he is going to discard down a lot of cards. Searching for the Biotic Labor, maybe some money cards. Trying to get some kind of fast advance tech in hand. Seeing that Sasha does not have a Code Gate Breaker, he's probably got another turn or two. Unless Sneak Door comes out to kind of sit on agendas and set up what he needs to set up.
Did you say we were caning Jack?
Yeah, I did say that.
Oh.
I don't know why I said it.
He may be in Singapore or something.
I know why I said it. It's true, undoubtedly. I guess using him for actions a lot. Caning.
Raising cane.
I see 2 Biotic Labors in Tim's hand as well as a beta test. So his number 1 priority right now is to get cash. And Engineering the Future sometimes a little bit interesting because you want to install to get that free credit.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to click for 3 too, and that's not exactly the most efficient way to do it. So you gotta figure out how you're gonna get that money.
Get to figuring.
And I think Tim is doing that right now.
Yep, he's thinking about something. And if I know Tim, he's a thinker.
He is thinking. He's thinking hard. As is Sasha here.
Trying to figure out what click we're on.
All right, Sasha, let's see what you got.
He's got to make an efficient decision here. Do you think efficiency correlates to like the right tactical or even strategic move?
It's a very tricky question. I think any beginner player looking to get intermediate to advanced could get there by just studying efficiency and thinking about the way that they're doing things. Just getting additional things for their actions. You know, simple things like I'm going to have data suckers out whenever I make a run so that it gives me some additional benefit. I'm going to have John Masanori out. I'm going to make a run on archives because it gives me a credit and a data sucker token instead of just gaining a credit. Like those kinds of decisions are very important. The more you can gain from an action, certainly the better. But sometimes gaining 16 credits doesn't actually do anything for you. So the next level I feel like in Netrunner is determining when to throw efficiency aside for the right move. And that can be a very difficult transition because some players will only play efficiency games.
Sure.
It's only about, is this actually going to give me a favorable credit differential? Whereas others are like, well, I know that paying 8 credits for 1 R&D access isn't efficient, but it could win me the game.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it does. And so there's a great balance there between those two concepts. One of the great strengths of Netrunner as a game, certainly.
Yeah. That's for sure. That's a good answer. Thank you.
Hey, man. I'm here to give good answers, you know. That's why we get paid the big bucks here. Data Sucker comes in, speaking of efficiency.
Oh, very efficient.
And Katie as well, speaking of efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Biotic Labor from Tim.
What's coming? Wait
Probably
for
a
it.
Shimmer from Sansan is what I'm going to guess. He's going to install, gaining a credit. He's going to advance, and then he's going to shipment from Sansan for 0 to put 2 advancement counters on a card.
Nice.
And he is going to trigger that beta test as either the best move or the worst move.
I love it when people trigger beta tests. Heimdall 2.0, that is a deal.
Heimdall 2 over HQ. I like that play a lot.
Dang.
And now you have to ask yourself, is there anything over in Archives?
That is about the most annoying piece of ice ever.
Yeah, you know, and had Jackson remained on the board, man, this would have been a way better trigger.
Whoa,
but I like that Tim just goes ahead and does it. I'd almost be worth trading an open Heimdall 2 for an agenda in Archives. I think Tim would be willing to make that trade too. If it's 2 agendas, however, it's a bummer. Mm-hmm. If it's an NAPD, it's even better. So we'll see.
Let's hope. We'll see what happens.
But this should keep Tim's hand very safe for quite a while. And
that's great.
Yeah.
That was just great.
All of a sudden, that Heimdall 1 over on that remote is kind of interesting, right? Because it looks like this deck is going to primarily score out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that ice could have been better over on R&D or something. But then again, it's protection for your asset economy, too. So, again, lots of choices to be made here with what seems like very simple decisions.
Yeah. Now that it's there, I mean, he might be able to find a use for it. You ever see anybody do like a Biotic Labor without immediately scoring an agenda?
Oh,
is it like a, or did they
rarely? It's very specific instances, yeah. But it certainly does happen. And Sasha, realizing he wasn't accounting for the brain damage, and so he's promptly disqualified.
That'll learn him.
Oh, and he gets a Gia. Okay, I think that's a fair trade. 1 point for that Heimdall 2 up. I think that's reasonable.
That's worth the 13 credits he would have otherwise paid for that.
Yeah, something. I think it's 11. Oh yeah, with the install too. You're right, 13 total. I think that's worth it.
Totally worth it.
I think that's worth it. And you kind of have to think if there was a ton of agendas over there, like two pointers, that Heimdall 2 probably goes over Archives.
Right.
But again, you just don't really know. Or maybe Heimdall 2 goes over Archives when there's only the Gia hands, and then Sasha spends an entire turn clicking and getting owned for nothing.
For nothing.
There's a lot of ways to play that. And now we watch.
And wait.
As these two titans determine the outcome here. A lot of talking in the background.
Yeah,
it was very friendly.
It was a great little night.
It was an excellent night, yeah.
There's
Special order?
I think there's 2 drafts going on right now as well.
There are. Yes, there are, and they are wild as compared to the top 8.
Wild, crazy drafts.
The drafts were, it's like the Animal House of games at the store right there.
That's
fair. Animal House.
Would you like to cut? No. I'll tap.
We see Sasha here going for the Gordian, so that kind of tells you a lot about his play style, ideas, those kinds of things. A lot of players opting for Zool, so inside job on HQ. This is a pretty wicked play here. If he gets an agenda out of this, it'll be worth it, of course. But man,
boom!
And
what do you get? And he does. Yoinketh!
Oh baby!
And
so
it's
that
a committee.
That was a great choice. A lot of players wouldn't make that, and the emergency shutdown comes down through. Just a great play here.
Yep.
So the access was really incidental to the plan there.
Just wiped all the benefits of that beta test that Tim scored and triggered earlier.
Hello Criminal, right?
Yeah.
So that beta test essentially yielded an inside job out of Sasha's hand just to get past it, and then it shut down. So you can't complain too much about that still on either direction. This is kind of classic Criminal, and honestly, this is why a lot of players ask, why don't you see these bigger pieces of ice, these more impressive entities?
Mm-hmm.
And emergency shutdown is the reason.
Yep.
It's too prevalent in the criminal playbook to really rely on big ice. And had Tim paid 11 to res that and then got 11 taken from him on an emergency shutdown,
Can you believe that?
the exchange is just too poor
Yeah,
to make it okay.
Yeah, I think we've both seen plenty of games where that'll just keep the core on its butt the entire game.
And legwork into HQ. This is a great play by Sasha, knowing that Heimdall 2 isn't coming up. And gets to see the second ice not coming up either.
What do you think it is?
So we're going to get to see if... Ooh, there's a Heimdall. It's biotic. And there's another one.
Something.
So the interesting thing there is that we now know, as far as I'm concerned, that Tim had, I think, maybe one agenda that Sasha pulled off that HQ access.
Yeah.
So, man, not lucky, and I mean, it's ultimately lucky, but great choice there for Sasha, and nailing that agenda out of hand. It's pretty wicked. I see another beta test in Tim's hand, and I'm going to wonder if he's going to trigger this one as well. He does have a biotic. We know he has the cash for it.
Time to score it, but will he trigger?
I think he will. Tim's a wily man when it comes to triggering. He still has that Jinteki heart, so he likes to take some risk.
I just like seeing people score it. I love that agenda. It's one of my favorite in the game.
It's great looking, right? You have like the weird doctor looking guy.
What is happening here?
Look at this tablet.
Look at my data.
And Sasha using Mr. Lee there plenty of times. Again, it's an efficiency card. Katie as well, got a bit of a connection suite going on.
It's pretty sweet indeed.
I like that token vomit pile down there in the bottom.
Somebody obviously had spaghetti for lunch.
I think that's definitely spaghetti in the token world.
Oh, man. Oh, we going HQ again?
Yeah, he's going HQ again. And if he pulls the beta test here, I'm going to freak out.
Okay, stand by for freak out. Close call. Close call. No freak out.
And Tim not phased. Not even phased.
That's cool. That's cool.
And
installing over. For a
installing over.
Is that a pop-up? Who knows?
And installing more. So choosing not to score the agenda here, I find that quite interesting. Certainly understand with the tempo of the game as it is.
Yeah.
That decision, but Tim probably not wanting to go to 0 credits basically to do that.
Not just yet.
There's Corroder, and Sasha's now
He's got
pretty
a
well
sweep.
built here.
Yeah.
The ice starts to fall apart here. He's still going to be 4 to get into R&D. Looks like there he's going on his 3rd click.
What's coming up? Tell us.
And it is an Ichi.
No surprise there.
So Fury's going to have to get out of town for this one. I don't think Sasha wants to deal with the trash here.
No, he doesn't.
Me use the tokens and Fairy.
Who does?
Yeah, Fairy coming out.
Boom.
And then using data sucker tokens as well.
Clickety click.
This decent odds of an agenda here. Looks like a shipment from Sansan.
Too bad.
Oh man, that's going to help Tim out tremendously when he draws that next turn.
Yep.
I think he has no choice but to score here.
He's got the money. Does he have the will?
Oof.
Ice.
Yeah, can't shipment. He doesn't have the money. Yep.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Had to waste it on the Ichi.
Wah, wah.
I won't say waste, but...
Use.
So he's got it next turn.
If he wants it.
If he wants it. And Mr. Lee for Sasha.
Mr. Lee's really great, honestly.
He is, and you kind of like seeing this as the corp, seeing a lot of clicks that aren't attacking you.
Yeah.
Over on the runner side. Of course, it ultimately is good for the runner's long-term game, but I think if Tim can get this beta test out, it's going to look really good for him.
Yeah.
And Sasha now having to deal with that Ichi, so he's got a problem over there on R&D. He doesn't really have ready access to it. And so as long as Tim can keep himself out of a R&D lock where Sasha's controlling every card coming through the pipe, he should be fine on the fast advance plan.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's his window of opportunity here. Time to capitalize.
And it looks like he's doing some Katie actions there. And that's going to finish it off.
Whoa, just printing money.
Tim just gaining some cash. There's a plan here that I'm not hip to yet. I may have misread the hand there. I think I see beta test biotic. Should be no problem. And 5 in hand is sometimes holding on a little too long here. Could be a problem.
Mm-hmm. Because now he's gonna maybe make a run there. He's thinking about it.
Could pretty easily do that.
I'm wondering what that second piece of ice is on HQ.
Yeah, he worked hard to put it there. So.
Wait, no. That's the 2.0, isn't it?
Yeah, we know 2.0 is
the
second one, and then
about that.
Yeah. I was thinking second is in 2 past the first.
Yeah.
I guess you could think of it however you want. It's just a word after all. Special order, probably for a fairy or maybe a persistent. Yeah, there's the mimic. So now Data Sucker is going to have to deal with Ichi, and that's okay.
That's okay.
As long as he continues to get in, it's still going to make that R&D server pretty taxing on him. Probably looking at 7 and a Data Sucker token to get in.
Data Sucker.
He just lets the trace go.
It likes to suck the data.
It's so true.
All of it. 1s and 0s. That's it, and that's all. Just a bunch of code. You call it data. Or data.
I definitely call it data.
Always call it...
Actually, I call it Data Sucker.
I call it
but
data.
I call it data if I'm speaking of it.
If I'm talking about the character from TNG, it's data.
Yeah.
No, it's... yeah, excuse me. Did I say that right? Data for the information, data for the character.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know. It's like... I'm sure there's another example.
If I'm eating it baked, it's potato. If it's any way else, it's potato.
I don't believe that at all.
I liked mashed potatoes.
I just don't believe it. I'm trying to think of another name conundrum.
The flippy floppy.
I'm
blanking.
Searching. We got plenty of time because these guys aren't moving at all.
Maybe you have a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. But then you have sun-dried tomatoes.
Think of a food that's also a name is really the key here.
A food that's a name.
Yeah.
Like
chicken sandwich?
Isn't there like a celebrities kid whose name is Apple? But it's just Apple. It's not like Apple.
Sasha running archives here.
It doesn't really work.
Don't think it works.
Nobody's helping.
Ah, my friend Banana. All right, there's archives.
Don't you mean banana?
So what's Tim going to do here? Do you res this and prevent the Data Sucker token?
I just like resin, so yes.
Res at all costs?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd rather... I want money here.
I mean, that ice isn't doing any good when
goodness, it's all gone. I'm all one.
Expansive. So expansive.
Man, these servers are just getting bold.
Mm-hmm. That HB ice is strong, though. Gotta give him that.
And Sasha clicks through the brain damage and then ends the run.
Womp, womp.
Come back over to Tim again in a bad money situation, and you kind of have to wonder.
Yep. Where's this heading?
Should that res have happened? What did it really ultimately do? We do have biotic beta test, right? We got to make sure that's true.
You're alleging it. I have yet to get a confirmation on that.
I think we've had it for about 6 turns now.
6 turns? Okay, I just saw a beta. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I really was focusing.
Maybe it was just that shimmer from Sansan making me think it's that man with the tablet. No, it's in there.
Yeah, I saw it.
Just
and I see a biotic. Yeah. Yep. You're right.
Definitely there.
It's
been there for a while.
Confirmed.
Now, as long as Tim's sitting on one agenda, maybe he just doesn't care too much. He'll give you a 20% shot to come through this horrid server. But now it's wide open for Sasha. He knows that he has a server every day of the week.
It's not even bad right now.
Tim's on 3 credits. I think a legwork here or something similar from Sasha would be pretty crippling. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that either.
Yeah. I like how he's taking his time on Katie there as well.
Yeah, he's taking his time. If there's one thing that Sasha is, it is very careful and
patient,
persistent. What is it? Like he definitely does the things that he means to do, and he thinks about it before he does them.
Deliberate?
There it is. Thank you, Robert. He's a very deliberate player.
Deliberate.
Sasha, deliberate Friedman.
No accidents here. No, sir.
Tim's more of a full tilt kind of guy. He's the guy that's going to go all in sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Sasha only goes all in on like a royal flush, for instance. For those poker players out there.
Never heard of it.
Inside Job Archives. That's what you want, man. That is absolutely what you want. We'll take an inside job for a Data Sucker token. Absolutely. Yoink. And a credit for Despy. What next? You see, he thought for a while, did something. 3 is going to be Katie.
It was a good plan.
And last one's going to be R&D.
Oh,
HQ,
going HQ.
I don't like that, Sasha. I think.
What you got? What you got? Oh, Eli.
I think you run HQ before you hit 3 on Katie in case you need that click.
Yeah.
All right, there's an Eli. Yeah, you're gonna bounce on that for sure.
Yep.
And Tim back in the no money game, but it's this great struggle that's going on here. Tim trying to plug these holes, and Sasha still continuously finding ways to exploit and find a way in.
But like, how many turns has Tim taken now? Where it's just click for 3 and that's it?
We've seen like probably 3 or 4 of those turns where it's just get 3, and sometimes that's just the problem of it is.
Yeah.
You get money, and then the runner makes you spin it. And this is the idea of aggressive running and good running. Look at all this ice that's up. All those credit values Tim has physically had to spin from his credit pool. So you think without having to res that ice, what he'd be capable of doing.
Yeah, totally.
That's a really good lesson for any kind of non-aggressive runners out there, why it's important to keep face checking, keep getting their defenses up, even though you don't necessarily want them there. You don't want them to have unlimited credits, because then biotic labor and those kinds of things just are too easy. It's too easy for the corp. Keep them on their toes.
Tippy toes.
Although I would love to see
second data.
Yeah, and legwork. Here is the legwork.
Sucker.
This is very, very important. Now, this could just single-handedly wreck Tim right here. He's held on for a very long time. I believe he's got 2 agendas in hand now. If Sasha pulls both, this is the game.
Yeah, he's got the credits to do whatever he wants.
1 pull.
Nothing.
Biotic.
Score.
Oh, score the efficiency. And the beta test.
It's over, folks.
Unbelievable. Wow. So there you go. You have to ask the question, could this game have gone differently? And I think that beta test could certainly have been scored. Don't know if he held too long or just had other plans that he was trying to accomplish, but that's a very interesting game. I think that's one for the study.
It's one.
Actually, it's one to take a peek at. Maybe was waiting for the Sand.
Put an asterisk by this one. You want to come back and rewatch.
Yeah, come back. This was like when I used to watch Paul Morphy games when I was a chess player. If anyone knows about chess, then you'll think I'm awesome right now. If you don't, then you won't have any idea. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hey, this is Game 5. We got tons more coming, of course, in this series. We're going to, as you might expect, finish it. So stay tuned. And, Robert, you ready?
Yes.
Let's move on.
Peace.